once we visited them, I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen this on TV, but it's just different walking in the park compared to just staring at a TV and just seeing it, really.
For sure.
So I can't really say I fell in love with the place. I just fell in love with almost everything that we've seen so far. You can't capture everything on camera. Once you're there and you capture it with your eyes, it just changes everything.
Hello and welcome to the Teens on the Road podcast, where we talk about all the ups and downs of living in an RV as a teenager. I'm your hostess Kayla, and each week we'll meet a new perspective on what it means to live this lifestyle. Whether you've been on the road for 6 months or 6 years, this podcast is here for you, to share laughs, to remember the hard times, and to celebrate the good ones. Stick around to meet our guest of the week and learn all about their story. Ready for the ride? Let's go!
Hi, I'm Drake. My family has been traveling for 2 to 3 years now. We are going on to our third. A fun fact about myself is I was the guy screaming "Fireball" super loudly at Teen Rally this year.
Yes, he has that the tenor to drive, the very loud yelling. You cannot mistake it. Hi Drake, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I met Drake at 2024 Teen Rally, so it's been 7 months since I met him. And our families are really close, and we've been traveling together, and things are great. And now I'm so happy to have him on season 2 of the podcast. So Drake, to begin, what is your traveling story?
So our traveling story has been, we've actually had our RV since, I believe, 2019 or 2020, either one works. We wanted to travel after COVID, after we all got sick, and we bought our RV, our Avalanche, and when we were about to go on the road, disaster struck. We had to wait 1 to 2 years before we could travel on the road because of issues, with these RVs. And once we got those fixed, we left Michigan, and finally we struck the road and hit the dirt and began moving. Started visiting states, and that was really fun.
Yeah. Has your family always wanted to full-time travel, or did it just kind of happen upon you?
I believe the story went that my parents seen something about traveling on the road, especially after COVID. A lot of nomads started hitting the road. Like, they were like, "Oh, we want to travel finally," and that's when the whole RV and campground thing began. And we're just like, "Oh, that sounds fun. Let's do that." And we eventually hit the road, and here we are, and we've loved it ever since. We probably will settle down sometime, but not for a while.
Yeah. How old were you when you first got on the road?
I believe I was 13.
Okay. What was it like for you moving from, normal life to RV life? What was the transition like?
Of course, it's always so difficult to transition between the two. For me, after COVID, I realized, because I was in face-to-face school, never online, and then I switched to online. I realized that a lot of my friends were fake, and instantly when I left, I was like, okay, this is gonna be easy for me to leave, because nobody was like, don't go, don't go. All my friends that actually stayed, my friends were like, yeah, go ahead, travel the road, man. We want to hear all the stories that you come back with. And that's when I truly found out that they were my close friends.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like, living in that style was a little difficult, but I mean, that's what happens when you of course transition. We just sit down in one spot, and then you just adjust to everything, where everything's at, and it kind of gets easy.
Mm-hmm. So what was your traveling style like at first? Were you guys moving really quickly, or were you taking your time?
So at first we headed straight down to Florida, and this was during the winter. So, like, and since Florida is always warm all year round, we kind of had time to settle down and, like, kind of get the gist of things, like understand how this worked and that worked. And yes, we ran into a few issues, but we eventually found out how everything works and what we should do in certain scenarios.
So you had like a trial run in Florida,
Yes,
basically?
basically training almost for dummies.
Well, that's really nice, because I know lots of families Like, they want to do it in 1 year. So, like, they're just like, we have to knock everything out in 1 year. And what ends up happening is they have their trial run, or that is their trial run, but it's much more stressful than having a winter in Florida like you guys.
Yes, originally that was our plan, but thankfully our plans changed and we actually did that Florida thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because without it, we would have been like, oh, we ran into this issue, we ran into that issue, you know. So thankfully we did that trial run.
Yeah, it wasn't as hard as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Has traveling brought your family together?
Oh, heck yeah, I would say so. So far, we've, of course, running or driving an RV, we always run into issues. Well, we have a fifth wheel and 43 feet, a matter of fact, and it's turns are difficult, but we work together to get around those. And then let's talk about tire blowouts, right?
Oh no.
So far we've had 2 tire blowouts, not on our truck, not our dually truck, on our fifth wheel.
Ugh.
Those tires would get tied up, and it was just so difficult because
explode?
it would explode and just wrap up.
Oh my god.
And me and my dad would have to work together, pull it out. Well, most of the time, my dad just got mad and just ripped it out, you know, because that's what adrenaline does to you.
Yeah.
But the craziest story of a tire blowout that we had, since we only had 2, the second one was like horrifying, just because instead of it being on the like curbside of the road, it was on the inside of the road. So cars were passing, and it was only a 2-lane road. So cars would be passing, and they would have to go over on the opposite side of the road and then merge back over, which is fine. But stupidly, a car was passing coming from the opposite direction and almost clipped my dad. A matter of fact.
Oh my god.
And luckily we got it all situated, and we got out of there as soon as we could.
I bet that really sent him to 100.
Oh yeah, it really did. But what we did was that we were looking in different directions, me and my mom, and we were telling him if a car was coming, and then we would pull him, so then he would not get hit after that.
So it's brought your family together in like team building exercises.
Basically, yes. So if we were stuck on a survival island, I think we could possibly survive. We just gotta let that adrenaline kick in for my dad if he needs to do anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something I agree with. It's just some families, they have more issues than others. Like a lot of RVers don't boondock for good reason, but we boondock a lot. And one of the things that happens when we're boondocking is disasters, like getting stuck in the mud for 3 days, or almost tipping the RV over, getting into our boondocking
That's what
spot.
happens when you have large fifth wheels or RVs right there. I understand that pain.
I know. It's the larger you get, the more exponential problems you have. That's what I like to say, because
Yes.
it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So totally agree. But it's that team building exercise that, like, you know, you have to work through these difficulties together, and like you only have your family.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't just always call AAA, you know.
Yeah,
you've just
sometimes
gotta
you
work
don't.
through it.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have that available to you.
Exactly.
Like yes, it is available, but if you're stuck on like a mountain pass, they're not coming out there.
Right, or it's gonna take like 6 hours
or longer, like
Yeah.
possibly 2 days, because you never know.
Exactly. So definitely familial bonding.
Yeah. This episode was sponsored by Dragon Moon Boba. Customize your own flavor to suit your taste buds and enjoy with friends at full-time family events. All drinks are made in-house to your liking by yours truly, Drake and Luna Gibson. Come get some now.
What was the first time you fell in love with a place?
I can't really say so far. Like, you when you grow up stable and then you just stare at a TV all day. So coming from where I'm from in Michigan, I was born in Flint. I grew up in Flint. If you know Michigan, there's the trifecta of the murder like cities. I believe it's Saginaw, Detroit, and Flint. I lived in one of those. Okay, Flint, and everybody knows by now the Flint water crisis. That's how we got popular. And growing up watching TV, National Geographic was my favorite, as you would see these national parks, these like animal documentaries. It's just so beautiful. So eventually I fell in love with a bunch of like national parks. I really do love them. For example, the big named one like Yellowstone and Death Valley. For a while growing up, I forgot about those, but once we visited them, I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen this on TV, you know. But it's just different walking in the park compared to just staring at a TV and just seeing it, really.
For sure.
So I can't really say I fell in love with the place. I just fell in love with almost everything that we've seen so far. I mean, thank the Lord that we're like protecting these national monuments and national parks, because without them, they would probably be gone.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Commercialized and everything.
exactly. So thankfully Theodore Roosevelt started this thing,
Yeah.
basically.
Did you watch that Ken Burns documentary?
Yeah, I
Of course
did.
you did. That is a great one. Yeah, I know. So it was basically like you know, you'd grown up seeing all the places, but
Exactly.
then once you like fully grasped their reality and their majesty, you were like, oh yes.
Well, you can't capture everything on camera. Once you're there and you capture it with your eyes, it just changes everything, really.
Yeah, that's 100% true. What's a place you hope to never return to?
Ooh, I would say for me, I don't like staying in big cities because sometimes driving an RV through there is really difficult. But if we're talking about like in general, I would try to avoid probably New York City, but like I don't mind it, but it's just like chaotic. Every road's blocked. Like I don't know if you remember this, but this year there was like some red smog over the city of New York.
Really?
Yes, and we were there, and it was weird, and I think it smelled a little funky too. And we were in the campground, we weren't in the city, so we were able to smell it from that far away, and it was bad.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about like close to New York City, I wouldn't mind staying. I don't want to go back to New Jersey, but I don't mind going to New Jersey. The only reason why is because every time I stepped outside, I would get 4 to 5 ticks on me. And
In New Jersey?
In New Jersey.
Ugh.
And I would have to rip them out, and that was painful,
Yeah.
really. But luckily, I caught them just in time before they dug inside me.
Yeah, the Northeast is known for the Lyme disease on the ticks, and like there's just so many of them. So we haven't been up there yet, but like now I'm a little worried.
You don't really have to worry as long as you're not in a heavily forest area, because that's where we were boondocking. We were at a harvest host, and just walking around in the forest because there's high grass, you know. So we would just get tons of them on us. So it was like long pants and long clothing while we're there.
Yeah.
And that was just hot sometimes too, especially because you're by the coast, so you kind of got that like humidness coming towards over there.
Humidity. Yeah.
Humidity, humidness. Yeah.
Humidness.
Welcome to my new dictionary, guys.
What? The Drake Webster's dictionary. What is the hardest part about traveling full time?
I would say the hardest part about traveling full time is arriving at night sometimes, or the long travel days, because once you get out of the car, you're kind of just done after that. Like you just want to get done, get inside the RV and crash, and just hit the sack, just fall asleep, really. And sometimes if you sit down for long enough without like getting up and doing like a gas station break or whatever, your tailbone can hurt too for sitting down for that long of a time, because of those car seats are not all the time comfortable, that's for sure. And it can also be cramped depending on how much animals you have and how much things you bring when you're traveling. For example, I can't do schoolwork while I'm traveling because it's the constant bumping up and down, and which moves my computer because I do online school, and I just can't read anything, nor can I type anything, just because the movement of the truck all the time.
Yeah. When you're in a trailer and not like a class, like I can't do school either. Like for one thing, it's the constant distractions of, oh, we're pulling over, we need to get gas, take out the dog, or
look at that on the side of the road.
Or look at that on the side of the road, or you know, my parents are listening to an interesting podcast, or there's music on. It's just like there's too many distractions for me. I have to have my like space. And then also like It's bumpy. I can't write anything down. How do you write anything down when you're in a car, you know?
Exactly. If any of you guys are able to do homework and write at the same time in these dualies and trucks, props to you guys.
No kidding. So yeah, I have to plan for travel days when it comes to my school because I just can't. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean I would say that's the most painful part of travel day is just not being able to write anything down or nearly do anything that's related to school or work.
And you know, those long travel days and those night travel days are rough. Like, it's just
sometimes pulling in, you can't see anything.
Yeah, I know it's awful, you know, because like you've got everything to unpack and you have to find a spot, but you're not sure, like, you know, maybe how the view is, or at least that's how my parents pick spots, or like, you know, what your neighbors actually look like, or you know how close you are to things. It's just dark is so much worse to park in. I know some people. Do you know some people travel overnight? Like they prefer to do that than during the daytime.
I've heard of some people doing that.
It's like partially work, but then also partially they just like being on the road with nobody on there. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
I mean, you have to be you have to be like a fully night owl and a day owl at the same time. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
But like I can't.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't do it either.
I'll give you an example. So like when the solar eclipse was happening, we drove from I believe Florida all the way to Texas just to see the eclipse.
Wow.
And we did that in one day, and that's like throughout the night too.
You went in one day?
Mm-hmm. I drove. Don't worry, guys. I have my license. I drove during the night at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m.
You drove the rig?
No, we didn't bring the rig, but
I was like, whoa.
No, not driving the rig. This is just driving through the night in that truck. But it was treacherous.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they do it, but like driving without something attached, or you know, just driving in general, that was tough.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're exhausted.
Yes, exactly. Like I don't know how we did it, but we made it. But to those people that drive nocturnally,
yeah,
props to them.
No kidding. Was it cloudy when you saw it? The eclipse?
No, luckily no.
Oh, okay.
It was. Thank you.
Yeah, because we were in Texas. We were in Medina Lakes with some friends watching the eclipse, and it was completely cloudy. And like the best we got was like the silhouette of the eclipse, and we would go like, "Woohoo! We can see it!" And then like it would be gone again.
Yeah. So like when the eclipse happened with us, it was just like everything went silent because all the birds think it's night.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like this weird tone, and it was just beautiful. But like you could, I don't know if you felt this too, but the temperature changed a little bit.
It does, yeah.
But look where we were at. We were in Italy, Texas, and we were able to see everything.
That's awesome.
It was just awesome.
Yeah, I know. So it's no wonder why people would like freak out during solar eclipses at ancient times. You know,
the world is
like when you didn't know what was going on. I would totally understand. Like the birds, well, you know, when it's about to crest, then they start chirping and like flying around because they think it's about to be nighttime, and then they stop. And then the crickets start up again, and like, you know, the temperature drops, and it's just like it is very eerie. For sure. It's not normal.
No, it was, well, to a certain extent it is normal, but to the animals, they're not used to it, I would say.
It's not normal in the sense that it happens very often, for
sure. That's why it's a once in a long time thing.
Yeah. We saw the one in 2016 too. We were in Charleston, and luckily it was finishing right there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that was when we still lived in our house, but it was really cool. It was cloudy in Charleston, and my parents were like, "Nuh-uh." So we like drove like maybe an hour to like a cornfield in the middle of nowhere to watch it, and it was great. My mom has excellent pictures from that. But yeah, eclipses are cool.
Oh yeah.
What is something about traveling that you have learned to love?
So I don't know if this goes for everybody, but I know sometimes being around like parents especially can get annoying. But I've just learned to adapt to it and love it, you know, because you know, you gotta always think they're not always gonna be around. So like you gotta make the memories, man.
You're talking like your parents are like 70 years old.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't wanna be older and then go like, wow, I don't remember that many memories with my parents. I want to make these memories, you know?
Yeah.
So like hang out with them, have fun with them. You know, like what we will do once in a while is do like trivia. You know, that'll be fun. Or we'll go like, hey, look at those mountains. You know, even though that they're just hills, for example. Just make jokes here and there.
Just like hanging out with your family.
Exactly. Just that's what I found like and fell in love with when traveling too. Like just hang out with family.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I don't think I've thought about that before. Because like, we were homeschooled before we got on the road and we had a lot of time together, but like, getting on the road, it's always a growing experience for your family. So,
Exactly. And eventually that's how you learn to trust one another too. Like my dad is like he's always the one that backs into our RV spots or does the pull ins. And we will have like spots to watch out for if he hits, but most of the time it's like, I got this, don't worry about it. And then boom, just done right there.
yeah.
It just, that's how we just bond, just hang out with each other, understand each other. Just that's what I fell in love with, really.
Yeah, for sure. How has traveling impacted your faith?
If you really, really study the Bible, a lot of like the main stories that we hear are like about nomads, really, because they don't really settle down in one spot. If you really think about it, like how Moses guided the people out of Egypt, that's nomads right
Through
there.
40 years in the wilderness.
Exactly. And but like once you come to understand that, you're like, wow, I'm kind of living like the Bible almost, but more modern, not like how they used to
Of
roll.
course.
So, but like you really like you're like, oh God, please, we want to make this trip. Don't ruin anything. But luckily we've made it this far, and I think that's really impacted our faith too because it's really drove us closer to God. And plus, beforehand when we were stable, we didn't really go to church that much, just because Flint, welcome to the hood,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But like it's really brought us closer to God because before we left, we found a church and we just been like listening into them and just like been catching up with them for a while. And really, it's been quite a exciting journey. Just being like close to Jesus and God and thanking them for everything that we're seeing and for their creation, really, and thanking them for everything that they've done for us traveling so far.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we could be in a ditch right now and
Yeah.
not be here in like most of us could be in the hospital somewhere too without them. So
My favorite line is, "At least we're not in Oklahoma."
that works too. Like we're not in Kansas anymore, right? So like something's good.
Just being grateful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, for all the teens listening, what advice do you have to give them about living this life?
I don't know if you've listened to the very first podcast or first episode of the first season.
Embracing the inconsistency.
Well, that's one, but what you've said is roll up your clothes or fold them because you make so much.
My episode.
Yes,
that was the last episode, but yes,
it was actually.
It's the first one you see, but it's the last episode of the season.
Okay, but other than that, go listen to that episode because it's very helpful. So what you want to do with clothes, if you have a crap ton, okay, fold them or roll them up because that way you can make a lot more storage. Because if you just throw in a bunch of junk, it's like how do you fit that all in there? But and they just come flying out every time you open like your dresser, your cabinet, whatever. But if you fold them, first of all, it looks formal and nice. Second of all, you can find clothing very easily if you organize it. And third of all, it looks nice and tidy for any company coming over.
Right. Yeah. So your advice is to go listen to my podcast.
Basically, just stay clean, guys. Like in an RV, you gotta keep everything like clean and organized because if it's just a disaster, how are you gonna even live in this thing?
Yeah, that's true. I know it's especially prudent in an RV because it's very easy for things to look like a complete disaster because it's just a small space. So yeah, definitely important for overall healthy environment,
Exactly. Another advice is work with your family. Don't yes, their family, they will get annoying, but please work with them. It really helps when everything moves along smoothly instead of each other fighting each other because at the end of each travel day, who the heck wants to still be awake and not taking a nap in their RV or just relaxing?
Right.
You know, like, why fight the fight when you can just relax and hang out with family later and be on a better mood?
Don't fight, take naps, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So before we wrap up, do you have any closing thoughts or questions for me?
Not really. I really enjoyed this podcast. What I advise to all the viewers out there is please continue listening in. It's and if you want to join, it's really awesome because I was reached out and so far I'm enjoying this.
Thanks, Drake. And if you want to sign up form is link in description. Do you have a question for our next guest?
How many issues have you ran into is my question, because for me, my family has ran into so many and we can't count because we like to describe it as almost big as the Bible.
Write a whole book about the issues you've had?
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. Riley is wondering, if you had a custom-made rig, what would be the most important things for you to have in it?
Ooh, that's good. I think it would be that, like, it would be a class A, so like an RV, you know, like old school. It's not a fifth wheel. But I would say enough room for everybody, but also a space where they can come together and hang out, like, so they're not super far apart. But also, I think I would say it would be an area where everybody can relax, but also can come together, really. But you know, like I said, have their own space at the same time, because everybody needs their space sometimes, and then there's moments where people want to hang out and get together. I think I would have that for sure if I had to customize it.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would add for yourself that you'd like?
I think it would just be, for me, I think I would do bigger, like, bedroom and storage. I don't want a massive bed. I mean, I'm already dealing with that.
He's dealing with a queen bed, guys. Can you imagine having a queen bed? I would love to have a queen bed. And here he is, he's dealing with it.
Well, the issue is if you have a big bed, you tend to sleep in longer because you can't roll out of bed. You're just like there.
That's fair.
So that's why I say dealing with it. But I would say a bigger bedroom, smaller bed, but more storage too, because probably a different desk too, because I have drawers where my feet are when I work. So it's basically the Hunchback of Notre Dame all the time, because I'm just hunching over my desk, you know, the optimal gaming position, and it sucks. It really sucks badly, but I still get the job done somehow.
Thank you for joining me, Drake.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. If you liked this episode, feel free to subscribe so you never miss one. If you'd like to connect with us, follow us on Instagram and feel free to reach out with any questions or feedback. And don't forget to leave us a review on your streaming service of choice. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. If you're a traveling teen interested in being a guest star on the show, fill out our form and we'll get back to you soon. This episode was sponsored by Dragon Moon Boba, thanks to Drake and Luna Gibson. Our intro song was created for Teens on the Road by Mila Rose, and you can follow her Instagram at Mila Rose Sings. Special thank you to our guest of the day, Drake Gibson. Thank you again for listening, and see you down the road.